So without further ado, then I think we'll jump straight into it and talk a little bit about the origins of OKRs. And as you see, the guy to the right down there, this guy over here, his name is Andy Grove, and he's a legendary boss at Intel. And it's actually that guy that in the 70s came up with OKRs. So it's quite old. A lot of people, a lot of organizations rather, seem to be thinking that, okay, if we do some kind of agile transformation, we need to do an OKR transformation as well, because that's something that you do when you're agile. But well, if you look at history, OKRs predates agile with a couple of decades. So and the history was really that back in the days when Intel was under hard pressure from Motorola in the microprocessor race, so to speak, and they came up with this wording really in order to help the organization align and focus quite a lot. So they had to win this race. So he came up with the objectives. The objective was to win this race, of course, and had some key results that he wanted to see that informed them that they were going in the right direction. And if you're interested more in the history, I suggest that you buy and read the book Measure What Matters by John Doerr, which is a fun book talking a lot about the history and how this plays out in different companies. So that's why a lot of people say that this is a goal-setting framework that was pioneered by Intel, which it was done, and made popular by Google. And that was because John Doerr, the guy that wrote the book then, Measure What Matters, he worked with Andy Grove at Intel and then came in contact very early as a investor with Google, and he helped them to understand what OKRs was, and that helped them to get focus in their work. So and then everything well, it really took on after that, because everything that Google does must be good, right? So let's copy what they're doing. And yes, so this is for sure true, but it's a little bit more than that actually. So you can see this as a simple approach to create focus and alignment, but also engagement around the measurable and ambitious outcomes, and also to empower people to come up with solutions to achieve them. So we're trying to make this not only a top-down model where some management or something leadership decides what objectives and key results there should be, and you know, we have the usual setup with IT or teams that just executes on these OKRs. We're trying to get a combination of top-down and bottom-up work, and we'll perhaps get back to that a little bit. But starting with the basics, but we have a lot of you that's already started out with this. Probably you know this, so we'll go through it quite fast. But OKRs is really an abbreviation. It stands for Objectives and Key Results. And this is a simple format. You don't have to use this format. You can write it in any way you want, just to make that sure out there, okay? You don't have to follow a format, but it goes together that we want to do something, we will, an objective, and that's measured by key results. And it's S on the end here. So there's more than one key result to an objective. So the objectives is really the what we want to achieve. And it's an inspirational and ambitious goal that motivates and challenges your team. You know, the story with when they met the janitor at NASA and they asked him, okay, so what is it that you do here at NASA? Well, I'm helping to put a man on the moon. So yeah, if you can get that feeling, not everybody has this super highly engaging goal to put a man on the moon, of course. So that might be a challenge, but that's really the feeling that we want to get out of this. So trying to have objectives that's inspirational and also not too long, so that it becomes a memorable qualitative description. So not, you know, a whole essay in the objective. If there's a lot of the word "and" in your objective, it's probably too long. Should probably be divided into several objectives, perhaps. So quite short, qualitative, inspirational, ambitious. You shouldn't feel that, okay, if I just tweak the way that we're working, if we just change a little bit, then we'll reach this goal. Try to come up with a goal that when we say challenge the team, it shouldn't be obvious what you need to do from day one in order to reach the goal. If that's the case, you're probably not setting the bar high enough if you want to stretch a little bit. So by challenge, we mean that you need to challenge the way that you're thinking, the way that you're working, and so that you have to think in new ways and just see that, okay, the old way that we've been doing this, we cannot continue in that way down. We need to think a little bit more and see if there's other ways that we can achieve this goal. So that's the challenging part. Okay, so then we have the key results. And key results is really all about measuring. So it is how we're going to measure our progress. And roughly 2 to 5 quantitative and measurable outcomes. And here we come to outcomes again, which, if achieved, will advance the objective. So as Google say, if you can't measure it, it's not a key result. So you need to have measurement in here. And why is that so important? Well, the importance here is to help you, to guide you that you're actually trying or working in a way that makes you go closer and come closer to your objective. And this is for sure a challenge for many organizations to be able to measure things. And maybe that's the first thing that you need to do. Find out, where is the data? How can we get hold of that data? Which data should we get hold of? How do we calculate even? Is there an algorithm involved here that we need to find out, and so on? And if that's the case, then that's the case, and that's really where you need to start. And we'll get back a little bit to that. So a lot around the data here, of course, and 2 to 5 is, yeah, that's roughly right. I mean, that's not a rule or a law that it has to be between 2 to 5, but that's generally what's enough for people to remember. If it gets more than that, it starts to be difficult to follow up on everything and remember all the key results that we have. So that's more of a rule of thumb, I'd say. Okay, let's see some examples then. A classic example, an objective that's improve the user onboarding and activation experience. That's your objective. And then you could have a key result saying something like increase the self-service activation rate from 15 to 30%. Okay, so we think that if we see that people actually activate themselves, if that increases, we think that we've improved the onboarding experience for sure. And if we reduce the time to wow moment using your main feature from 4 days to 1 day, then yes, people have been able to onboard themselves and activate them. So that's probably improved. And if someone is improving their profile completion from 40 to 85%, so if more people are completing their profile, they're probably also doing a lot more of this themselves. And if we make people start paying for our product, yes, we think that they're more improving, the onboarding and activation experience is improved. So we want to improve the paid trial conversion from 27 to 35%. So that's a classic example, B2C company, you have a lot of customers and so on. But many use OKRs also for internal use. So we have perhaps an example of that could be that make the company a desirable place to work. More of an internal OKR, how do we develop our company? And And key result for this is, of course, to increase the employees' net promoter score, or reduce the turnover rate, and increase our Glassdoor culture and values rating. So some examples of how it could look like. So simple enough, right? Just follow this format and everything is nice and dandy. So how hard can it be? Well, it turns out that it might be hard. John Cutler came up with this picture, the 12 signs that you're working in a feature factory, and this has become some kind of concept that we've been talking about. This is almost 10 years ago now. And a feature factory is a way of working that many organizations have. You know, that somewhere over here to the left in the lands of meetings and guessing, we're guessing what features we need to build. We have meetings and workshops, and we come out with ideas there when we say, yes, I feel that this is something that we really, really need to build. And that goes into the stuff to build part here. But also perhaps HQ now at the end of this quarter comes with some ideas that, yeah, you know, we really need to double down on our AI strategy this quarter. So that needs to be built as well. So that goes into the mix. And then we have a lot of you guys in this webinar that are owners of a list of some kind, the product owners or the product managers. Yeah, so we have the whole backlog situation here. So you'll need to try to understand and prioritize between what they say the managers and leadership is saying over here and what the managers and leadership at HQ are saying. So that means that, yeah, we need to build these three things. Okay. Yeah, but what about UX then? Oh, yeah. True. So we have some UX unicorns that comes here and sprinkle some pixie dust. And perhaps the UX looks good now. And then we ship it in over the fence into our factory part here with our genius builders, the teams, and they put their heads together and okay, out comes something, and then that goes into the product as a part here as an increment, and the customer is okay. I don't really feel that this product goes together. Why is this new feature here? What am I going to do about it? And this is really a setup that we sometimes call also the customer vendor anti-pattern, that you have a part of your company that acts as customers, that, you know, orders the vendor, the internal vendor, the IT department to build something according to our decisions, and you don't really have any means of giving feedback that direction. And if this is the setup, having OKRs becomes harder for sure. OKRs in this setup could, of course, help you with alignment and focus. Yeah, but this leads to a number of anti-patterns that we see quite often. And the first one being that, well, if you have the classic setup with some kind of requirement specification that you need to implement the search function, which means that you need to update the search bar UI and implement autocomplete and optimize search algorithm by using the fuzzy wuzzy library. Okay, now we're going to work with OKRs. Okay, so we need to transform this into some kind of OKR. Yeah, sure. Our objective is then improve the search function, of course. And the key result is update the search bar UI and develop the autocomplete feature and optimize the search algorithm. Well, this is just like putting lipstick on a pig. You haven't really changed anything. Perhaps even made it worse, because you actually, in this simple example, you actually lost information even in the way that you set this up. So we need to do something here to change the concept, and that is really going from this outcome part that we have here, implement this, optimize that, update this, and move that into some kind of outcome focus instead. Then if you just do this, you have just spent a lot of money and time in trying to implement OKRs and not really gained anything from it. And with the feature factory set up, another anti-pattern that we see quite a lot is this, that most, or if not all, organizations are really clear on the vision and direction. What are we supposed to achieve? What are our goals and our vision in the coming 3 years? And all teams are very clear on how to work day to day. There's no one going to work in the morning and saying, "Oh, I have no idea what to do today. We have an empty backlog at our team." No, for sure. Everybody got multiple months or years in their backlogs to work. But hey, I'm not really sure how I see that, how my work actually contributes to the clear vision and direction that we have. So the thing here in the middle, we don't really see how this connects. And this is what we call the air sandwich strategy. So yeah, we have the bun at the top and we have the bun at the bottom, but hey, what about the protein in the middle? Don't really know. And this is really where OKRs excel. So having OKRs here in the middle is a very good way of connecting the vision and direction of the company together down to the backlogs of the teams by going through the key results and then understanding how that can become some activities and so on in the backlogs. Because from Marty Kagan, the author of Empowered and other books, OKRs are first and foremost an empowerment technique. And with empowerment, we mean that it's trying to empower the product teams. That's what we're talking about. And we empower them by assigning them problems to solve and not requirement specifications to implement. So by problems to solve, we mean some jobs to be done or things that solving some situation for a user or a customer. That's a problem to solve. Not a technical problem per se, but rather a usage or customer problem. And it is essential that we define success by business results, that is outcomes, and not simply by activity and output. Because all of these activities and initiatives and features and stories, that's just how we believe that we're going to reach our goals. They are hypotheses or bets. And if they not improve the numbers that we have in our key results, we need to change all of these epics, initiatives, features, user stories, whatever you have. So we cannot really know that the things that we're doing are actually solving the problems or grabbing the opportunities in the market if we cannot prove that, if we cannot validate our hypothesis in some way. And that's why it's, again, so important to have the numbers in your key results. And so since this is just how we believe that we're going to reach it, it's hypothesis and bets that we have that, okay, if we do this, we think that will happen. It also is true that from Ron Kohavi, working at Amazon and Microsoft, that these bets have a low success rate. So if, for instance, at Google and Bing, only about 10 to 20% of the experiments that they have generate positive results. And if you look at Microsoft as a whole, 1/3 prove effective, 1/3 neutral results, and 1/3 have even negative results. So if you're not outperforming Google or Microsoft, this is what you get. You won't get better numbers than this by just guessing if this feature is the one that you need or not. So you need to do something more than just guess which features to build. And another classic on this is the Standish group that does this research on how many of the features in products are actually used. And we see that some 50% of features are hardly ever used. So if we could change that number and get it more right, that would of course help us not to build so much in vain, so to speak. Yes, there are of course functionality that's supposed to be never used often. You're not supposed to press the alarm or SOS button on your iPhone, for instance. So it's designed not to be used often, for sure. But if you look past those, these numbers indicate something for us. And what it indicates is really that, well, we don't really know the difference between output and outcome. So we're going to establish a little bit what the difference is here. So if this is how it looks like, our users are not really happy with us, then we need to come up with some kind of idea and do some work and deliver something, and hopefully our users are more happy. And of course, the delivery part over here is of course output. This is our products, our features, our enhancements and specifications, requirements, etc. But them becoming more happy is the outcome or the effect or impact that our output has on our users. So our work is of course to maximize the outcome while we are minimizing the output. So many organizations are really good at measuring the output, making sure that measuring the lead time, are we actually delivering our features on time, on scope, on budget, and so on. But if that's not changing the outcome in our customer base or our users, then that's really not helping us. If we're just good at shipping more crap out the door faster, then you just get more crap. And that will just cost you more money in the long run. So we need to move away from looking at output and measuring output and instead measuring outcome. And some examples then on output and outcome. So typical output is that, yes, we need to implement a new self-service help area. Okay, but why do we need to do that? Well, that's because we want to help our customers succeed when they are struggling. So that's actually, you see that we have solved a customer problem then over here. Improve the search function. Yeah, we can see that this moves in the right direction if we see that the did this help rating rises 15%. Okay, so we want to implement a new FAQ. Yeah, that's because we want to help the customers again then. So that's because, so we see that will happen if the problem resolve rating on the FAQ improves, for instance. And if we do these discussions, we get some other benefits as well. So consider this example, the implement a setup wizard. Yes, this is because we want to increase the self-service activation. And if we realize that, okay, we actually want to build the setup wizard because we want to do this, we want to increase the self-service activation rate, then we can actually start having more ideas. Okay, so given that we want to increase the self-service activation rate, perhaps it's not only implement a setup wizard that can help us. That's one bet. Yeah, true. But perhaps a simplified sign-up process or develop guided product tours. That's also bets that we could do. So which one should we go for? So by trying to discuss and see, okay, how are we going to help our customers or fulfilling our vision, then that will help us having more ideas on what we could do and then try to prioritize between them. So this is really a little bit of a cheat sheet, for instance, or help on, okay, how could you, what questions could you ask? So what is the current state of how things are looking today, if you want to go from output to outcome? And if your delivery is successful, what might we observe? What does the future look like? Try to describe this. Who will change the behavior? Who will be able to do some things that they're not doing now? How will they change? And what's this new thing that they're able to do? and how will this new behavior benefit customers and users in our business? So now we would like you to move over to the Miro board. I'm going to share that here in a second. So your exercise is a simple one. To grab a place in the Miro board and in one of these pink output post-its, write one output that you or your team is working on today, and then try to formulate an alternate outcome instead in the right column then. So what is that output ultimately going to achieve? Okay. So Joachim, could you help me by perhaps posting the link to the Miro board in Slack? So we're going to move over to, or in Slack, I mean here in Zoom, of course. So we're going to move over to the Miro board. I'm going to share that. And we're going to give you a couple of minutes to work on this. I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. And to your left, I have the tips as well and the exercise. So you have the from output to outcome. If you need some help and some ideas when you formulate your outcome. Everybody seemed to be able to come into the Miro board at least and do something. So Joachim is onto something here, looks like. You get a chance to explain your thinking in a minute. Oh yeah, Lisa, see your chat there. You don't have access to Miro. Need to sign up first. You really don't have to sign up. That will help you anyway. So I'll implement.
I should just get straight in. Would be needed, but sometimes it messes it up when you are actually logged in. And you might have to log out or go to an incognito window or something like that. You should be able to get in, but I'll paste it in for now.
So I hope you saw that, Lisa, then that I put your outputs and your outcome here in the middle. Good. So, okay, what do we have, Joachim?
Yeah, we have a lot of different ones.
So you wrote one. If you could perhaps explain yours first.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I put run a PM course. We're running a course for product managers. But what are we actually hoping to achieve by that? Well, I put that at least 95% of participants report applying learnings in their work within 4 weeks of completing the course. That's, I would say that's a leading indicator key result. I mean, a more lagging or even more outcome or impact focused one might be that they are using that to increase customer satisfaction or increasing innovation or time to money or something like that. But that's just my.
Exactly.
And because this is, let's say that this is a new course, we haven't measured this before. I said at least 95%. If this is something that we would doing recurringly over time, I would say then I would have a number, and then it would be more relevant to say increase from X to Y to give people an idea of the effort involved and what this means. Now people aren't sure. Is 95% good, or how hard is it from what we already have and so on. I was thinking that implement 5 new validation errors in our product. Well, I don't think. Do you really want to implement errors? Well, 50% fewer support tickets. That could be good, but we don't have any idea of how many support tickets do you have today. Is it hard to get 50% fewer? If let's say we have 2 support tickets, and we can reduce it by fixing one, that seems really easy. If we have 1 million support tickets and we want 50% fewer, that's a big feat. That's why we would recommend typically to say from X to Y. To give more context and idea of what that means.
Yeah, and we have the create an AI assistant for HR. Yeah, that seems to be on topic nowadays. And we have, so that's the output, and the outcome is to improve HR efficiency by reducing time spent on repetitive tasks by 30% within 6 months. Yeah, that's good. That could be an outcome. And here we could start asking, so what? Why is it important to reduce time spent on repetitive tasks by 30%? So improve HR efficiency. So reducing time spent on repetitive tasks. What's more important that they do? So perhaps we could try to ask that question and see if there's a higher level outcome here that we're trying to achieve. And by doing so, perhaps we could get some other ideas as well, besides creating an AI assistant for HR. That could be important to look at as well. So improve HR efficiency. Yes, probably good, but it's a little bit fuzzy. What is it that we're actually going for here? Yeah, cool. Good work, all of you. So with the time in mind, we'll move on now to just the rest of the presentation, and we can discuss more of this in the Q&A section afterwards. So thank you so much for your effort here.
I'll add some comments to some of the stickies so you can actually get some.
Yeah, you'll have the access to the Miro board after this webinar as well. Of course, it's not going away. Cool. So we're going back to the presentation. So this is really how it goes together then. So the objective over here is the what that we want to achieve, and easy to remember and engaging and so on. And connected to that is a number of key results, 2 to 5. That's metrics. You have a start value and target value, as Joachim explained. And connected to those key results, you have different initiatives, tasks, activities, and so on. These can be in a backlog. These has to be replaced if they're not moving our numbers. Okay, but when you've done all of this, what's next then? Is it just to forget about them and see them next quarter? No, hopefully not. So of course, visualizing and actively track progress is very important. So back in the days of physical whiteboards, it could look something like this, that you have some kind of way of indicating how it's going, how progress is happening. Okay, we stumble upon something here, and yeah, here it's done. Or yeah, going well. Oh no, we realized that this key result was not the one that we needed to do. Okay, we need to stop this and change and do something else. So we really suggest that you have some kind of weekly or bi-weekly or once a sprint or once an iteration at least check in to reiterate the objectives that you're doing, track the progress made, and see what's happening, focus on blockers and initiatives to really have a discussion on how is it going and why is it not going as we think, and then perhaps replan, have new ideas and so on. And of course, make sure to celebrate the wins when we've done something that's really good. Then of course do that. So make sure that you have a continuous work throughout the quarter, if quarter is the way that you work with OKRs, which is the most common one. So make sure that you continuously check in on your progress so that you actually can make informed changes. That's how you get business agility really in your way of working. If you don't look into this, well, then you have perhaps some kind of quarterly waterfall instead. And well, that might be better than what you had before, but the more often you can get feedback on what you're doing, of course, it's the faster you can change direction as necessary. In addition to this, an idea is to perhaps send some kind of mail updates if you're, as there was a lot of you in large enterprises. So one way to inform others in the company how it's going is perhaps send a mail or post this on Confluence or some other kind of internal network or something, where you perhaps show key metrics, highlights, the progress, the milestones, the risks and blockers that you're working with. So it's quite important that you also introduce this cyclic way of working and getting back to your OKRs as you put so much effort into actually setting them. Good. That ends our presentation for today. We have, of course, a shameless plug that we have a course on this coming up in 4 weeks roughly, where me and Joachim discuss one day strategy execution with OKRs. And the cool thing in this course is that you're working with your own backlog and your own goals, and we work more on creating outcomes and so on. We do this also as an internal bespoke course, of course, for companies, as well as we do it as an open course here at Better Product Work. And you'll get an extra 20% off, of course, if this seems interesting to you. We have more inspiration. We have other webinars. Next webinar coming up is the full stack product manager next week. Could also be interesting, of course. And we have other courses and so on coming in May and June and September.
Yeah, you're showing the presenter view instead of the...
Oh, sorry. Of course I am. There we go. So, some ending mentis. So get your phones back. to give us some feedback on this webinar. So how likely are you to recommend this real-world OKRs webinar to a colleague or friend? Very nice. Thank you all. And what was your biggest takeaway, if any, from today's session? Oh, the exercise and to always think about outcomes. Yes. It is often the biggest takeaway. It's also often the hard part of this, to keep it in the outcome. It seems like our takeaway here about outcomes really hit it home. That's great to see. If more able to think about outcomes rather than tracking the outputs and measuring what's been delivered, then I think a lot of things would become much better actually at your different companies. Good, thank you all. So as a last one, is there any specific topic related to OKRs you would like to learn more about? Give us some ideas for upcoming webinars, news articles, and so on. Nice. Tools for OKRs, always an interesting topic. For sure, there's a lot of it out there. Just beware, many tools also come with an implied process, so look for that if a tool often tries to force you into a specific way of working. How to make them living and get people to really use them. Verbs that could help to write better OKRs, like improve. Yes, so some wordsmithing things going on there. Possible metrics, how to implement OKRs in a large organization, where to start, what to think about. Yeah, good. Aligning across teams, how to break silos in setting objectives. Yes, good topic. And how to do the top-down versus bottom-up and connect them. Yeah, all good topics. Thank you very much. So if you're interested in more, we have news and content. We have a newsletter that you can sign up for, and we avoid spamming you. We send you content in that newsletter. And thank you all for today. So if someone has any questions for the remaining couple of minutes before your 9 o'clock meeting, please do so. But we are done for today. Thank you very much.